there, movie lovers! Today we've got a fresh top list of the best new films that are already available in good quality. As always, you're watching Film Mix, the channel where you'll always find something worth watching, so I recommend subscribing so you don't miss anything. Let's get to the movies. Neighborhood Watch. Simon McNally, 30 years old, was recently released after spending 10 years in a psychiatric hospital. He still suffers from visual and auditory hallucinations. Plus, he hears his cruel deceased father's voice in his head. One day, after witnessing a young woman being kidnapped on the street, he goes to the police. But they're convinced this crazy guy just can't tell what's real from what's not. Out of desperation, Simon decides to take the investigation into his own hands, with help from his eccentric neighbor Ed Gurman, a former college security guard. The whole story revolves around the hero's internal conflict and his attempts to convince everyone, including himself, that he's not losing his mind, which honestly just makes everything more interesting. Old Guy. This crime comedy has that perfectly balanced British style with their signature humor. Elderly hitman Danny Dolinsky still believes he's too young to retire. To stay in the game, the killer reluctantly agrees to train a promising rookie. The pair is assigned to eliminate members of a rival crime syndicate, but it soon becomes clear that this assignment is actually a deadly trap. Despite their completely different approaches to work, these two need to function as a team to fight back against their enemies. Last Bullet. The indestructible mechanical genius Lino, hiding from justice, decides to get revenge on Oresk and the commander who ruined his life and the lives of his loved ones. From the very first minutes, this film takes your breath away. Car chases, explosions, crashes. Everything is filmed with such energy that you just can't look away. Lino, as always, doesn't just race cars. He transforms them into real war machines. The scene where he escapes pursuit using his engineering skills at full throttle was especially impressive. The plot revolves around his desire to expose corrupt cops and restore justice. Every step Lino takes is like walking on a tightrope, where one mistake could cost him his life. But it's exactly this tension that makes the film so captivating. 1 million followers. Carissa Dennis grew up with her widowed father and sister on a small farm in South Dakota and dreams of a rich, glamorous life as an influencer, but has struggled to reach just 1,500 followers. Unexpectedly, social media star Jack Meyer contacts her and invites her to join a journey on a luxury yacht to Thailand. Seeing this as a great opportunity to quickly gain 1 million followers and save the family farm from bankruptcy, Carissa happily agrees. The girl becomes part of an expensive party, but things take an unexpected turn when the mysterious sponsor of this event appears. The Electric State, the most expensive film in Netflix history from the Russo brothers, who directed the climactic Avengers movies. It's set in an alternative reality in the 90s. A war with robots has just ended, resulting in intelligent machines being driven into a reservation in the middle of the desert. Michelle, a girl who lost her family in a car accident, meets a robot named Cosmo controlled by her younger brother. To find him, the heroine embarks on a dangerous journey to the exclusion zone, accompanied by a smuggler named Keats and his eccentric robot. Drop. A widowed mother's first date in many years takes a horrifying turn when, during dinner, anonymous threatening messages start coming to her phone, and she begins to suspect her charming companion might be behind this stalking. Drop is a tense thriller that keeps you on edge the whole time. The plot unfolds in an upscale restaurant on top of a Chicago skyscraper, where the main character, Violet, faces threats coming through the DigiDrop app. These messages threaten her family and demand she commit terrible acts. The situation gets worse because the perpetrator seems to be nearby, making Violet suspect everyone in the restaurant. Riff Raff. A slow-paced crime drama with a serious acting lineup, Vincent left his criminal life behind and started a family who has no idea about his past. Everything changes when Vincent's son Rocco, his pregnant girlfriend, and his ex-wife Ruth suddenly appear in their lives. They bring troubling news. A dangerous gangster named Lefty and his assistant are following them. A bloodbath is inevitable. Vincent must protect his family, and what makes the situation even spicier is the fact that Lefty and Vincent are old partners. Magpie. A slow-burning psychological thriller about female revenge. After the birth of her second child, Annette quits her job and moves to the suburbs with her kids so her husband Ben, a renowned writer, can work in peace. Ben often leaves for long periods and, according to rumors, cheats on her. When their older daughter starts acting in a film, Ben accompanies her on set and meets a notoriously famous star there. Annette notices Ben is infatuated with the actress and decides to play her own game, where the role of victim won't be assigned to her. The Penguin Lessons. An English teacher finds a tiny penguin on the ocean shore. The little guy is completely weak and barely moving his wings. Tom cleans him of oil and seaweed and sets him free. But it's not that simple. According to the Penguin Code of Honor, if someone saves your life, you must return the favor. The penguin follows the teacher everywhere and one day sneaks into his classroom. The teacher has no choice but to keep the penguin and start taking care of him. This isn't just a story about saving an animal, it's a deep tale about how an unexpected friendship can change your life and help you find your place in the world. And what makes it even better? It's based on a true story. June and John. John is a shy accountant from Los Angeles who's pushed around by his controlling mother, strict boss, rude colleagues, and even the parking attendant. He's completely unpopular with women and leads a boring, monotonous life. But everything changes dramatically when he meets a young woman named June, who's as beautiful as she is mysterious. Together they embark on a dizzying adventure filled with risk, passion, and self-discovery. A race against time and the law that brings vibrant colors and the magic of love into their lives. Demon City. This Japanese action film with fountains of blood and a touch of fantasy tells the story of Sataka, a professional hitman planning to retire. Soon, a gang breaks into his home, coldly murders his wife and daughter, and then the main character himself. Somehow the man survives, but he's paralyzed. That's how he spends the next 12 years. And then one day, thanks to accumulated anger and a demon spirit that possessed him, Sataka starts moving again, to brutally avenge his family's death. Warfare, Iraq, 2006. A combat group of Navy SEALs finds themselves in the heart of enemy territory. They're elite fighters, hardened by thousands of hours of grueling training, but nothing could prepare them for the siege they've fallen into. Now they must survive the most intense hours of their lives and save each other at any cost. Shot in real time, the film conveys the feeling of being on the battlefield, where any moment could be your last. This isn't just a war drama, but a deep exploration of the human psyche in extreme conditions. It leaves you with a sense of anxiety and makes you think about the price soldiers pay for following orders. A Working Man? An old-school, bone-crushing action movie with an all-time favorite star doing some good old-fashioned mayhem. The plot follows retired counterterrorism agent Livon Keith working as a simple construction worker. One day, his boss asks him to help find his missing daughter. Keith agrees and in the process uncovers a huge corrupt organization of officials and gangsters involved in human trafficking. Remembering his old skills, the main character heads straight into the criminal's den. Death of a Unicorn. A father and his teenage daughter accidentally hit and kill a unicorn while heading to a meeting with the boss, Del Leopold, and his family. They take the body to a shelter owned by a major pharmaceutical company. Soon, scientists discover that its body, blood, and most importantly, its horn possess supernatural healing properties that the Leopolds are eager to exploit for their own purposes. However, as they delve deeper into their research, they discover deadly consequences of their actions. It Feeds. Dr. Cynthia is a psychiatrist with the unique gift of entering other people's subconscious. A frightened girl named Riley appears at her doorstep, claiming she's being pursued by an evil entity. Looking into her mind, Cynthia realizes that the creature tormenting the girl is very powerful and hungry, and confronting it threatens not only Riley. Something ancient and malicious is lurking in the depths of the human psyche, ready to break out and devour everything in its path. Can Cynthia stop the evil before it destroys the entire world? The answer is obvious, but that doesn't make the film any less intriguing. Bloodstar, a tense psychological thriller in the spirit of Wrong Turn. Bobby, a young woman, is driving through the New Mexico desert to reconcile with her boyfriend. Stopping at a gas station, she meets a slightly strange local sheriff, and later, after speeding, she'll get to know him even better. Eventually, the main character becomes the target of a psychopathic sheriff who sees his badge as a license to hunt young women. The girl will need to use all her street smarts to stay alive. The Friend. The unexpected suicide of respected New York writer Walter Meredith becomes the reason for a reunion of all his ex-wives and lovers. He leaves his beloved Great Dane named Apollo to Iris, a longtime friend and his best student, who leads a quiet and solitary life in a small apartment in Greenwich Village. The woman, who has never had pets before, reluctantly agrees to take the dog, who gradually becomes her faithful friend, helping her cope with the loss of her mentor and overcome her creative crisis. Wild Tales. An action comedy starring Pedro Pascal. Tom Hanks, Ben Mendelsohn, and Angus Cloud also star in the film, one of Cloud's final works. The action takes place in Oakland in 1987. It's a multi-track mixtape with colorful characters, an NBA star, a corrupt cop, a female rap duo, punk teenagers, neo-Nazis, and a debt collector who all collide in a feverish dream of showdowns and battles. Handsome Guys, a South Korean remake of the famous black comedy Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, with a pinch of mysticism added. The story centers on two brothers who have long dreamed of owning their own house, and finally, they bought one. However, the house needs repairs. After burying a hit black goat found on the road, the brothers go fishing, while a group of young people relaxing nearby mistakes them for maniacs and decides they've kidnapped their friend. Trying to save her, the students start accidentally killing themselves in the great outdoors. Rust. A bit of a misleading title for gamers, right? At least I was fooled thinking it was an adaptation, but in reality, it's a standalone Western. A boy, left alone with his younger brother after their parents' death in 1880s Kansas, goes on the run with his grandfather after being sentenced to hang for the accidental killing of a local ranch owner. Rust is a melancholic Western that, despite its visual appeal, can't quite shake the shadow of the tragedy that occurred on set. And that was the last new release in today's collection, but there are many more collections coming up. So subscribe to get them regularly. I won't say goodbye for long. See you soon in a new video.